So 46, huh?
We
Okay,
have
good.
for now we have 21, but usually take 5-10 minutes until they keep joining. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I will let them through. Just 1 second. So, hello
Oula.
everyone. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. So nice to see some new faces.
Hello.
Hi, hi.
Hi.
Oh, just 1 second. I'm letting some people are having some issues, and I just need to make sure that they can join as well.
Hello, I'm John Pierre.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hello. Good evening.
Hi,
Hello, I'm Isabel. Nice to meet you.
very nice to meet you. So if you can, while we wait, because some people are joining still, if you can make sure that the name that is on Zoom is correct, that would be great, just so that, if we need to refer to each other, we can also keep track of your real name and not some iPhone 27, and that would be great. Thank you. So, okay, let's get started. Some people might join, but I will start introducing myself. My name is Bella. I am the Sport Development Officer at the European Equestrian Federation. And first of all, I want to welcome you to this course just 1 second. If you can also mute yourself, please. I just want to welcome you to this EF Academy for endurance, course designer, and technical delegates. So about today, as you could see, we have sent you the syllabus. You will receive also notification for the events if you have already on the platform. Also, if you have any questions regarding the platform, feel free you can directly message me on the platform, or you can send me an email and I will help you with any issue you might have. Although so far it's really straightforward. We haven't had a lot of problems. It's quite simple. Just some housekeeping for today. So today our session will have a pause for 10 minutes. And throughout this session, there will be also chances for you to ask questions. So if something comes up and you have a question, there will be a time towards the end for you to ask. So sometimes some tutors prefer to have questions immediately, but in this case, because of the volume of participants, we're going to keep it this way. So there will be a specific time for you to ask, but write down your question because we want to hear it, okay? So about today, our tutor, trained as an architect by profession, François Kerboul brought the same eye for structure and precision in the world of endurance riding. What started as an interest in the discipline grew into an original contribution to the sport. In 1998, he pioneered electronic timing for endurance races, replacing the stopwatch with chip-based systems precise enough for horses conditioned over hundreds of hours of training. That same rigor carried him through the ranks to the FEI Level 4 Technical Delegate and Judge status, one of the most senior levels, as you all know. He has served as technical delegate at major international venues, including Sardinia Endurance Festival in Arborea, Sardinia, and helped establish the Butib initiative in the UAE. He has organized and officiated endurance races across borders throughout this career. His philosophy is clear. Rigor and welfare go hand in hand. Precision in judging and timing exists to protect the horse, not just for the result. We are very, very fortunate to have him with us today. Please, François Kerboul, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bella. It's too much. Huh? You're too kind. But anyway, I'm honored to be in charge of this series of courses, and we will go as deep as we can. And I have done this on a PowerPoint, so my face is going to disappear in a few seconds. But before, two things. We will have a break, as Bella said, more or less in the middle for 10 minutes, but I don't want you to be just waiting. You will have something to do, to think of course. And between the two courses, between this one and the one next Tuesday, you'll have also something to do because I don't want you to keep the track. Okay, so please remember that you switch off your microphones to avoid the rambling noise. And when you have something to say, you just switch it on. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen. So here we are. Can you see the screen?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, okay, good. So this is the course for technical delegates and course designer, and we will see a detail later on for 2026 and part 1. So welcome all of you. Well, the intended goals. First, I've got to frame all these. The aim of the course is to train effective and competent technical delegates and course designers included in this vocabulary, so that you feel comfortable in the job. If you feel comfortable, if you are at ease, people will recognize it and will follow you. If you're just hesitating, it's difficult. So by providing deep knowledge, appropriate methods, presenting numerous helpful, instructive examples, all extracted from real life. What I'm going to use here is coming from my own experience. I'm not creating this type of cases just for the sake of it. Answering questions, solving scenarios with cases analysis, providing ready-made solutions, and at the end of this series of course, I will gather all this in a PDF for you to have a practical documentary, because sometimes it's easier, faster to give to an organizer a document instead of starting this talking about it. So what we want to have is happy and proud technical delegates. Happy because you feel at ease, truly promoting the discipline, because we are a key for making better the discipline, because we work with the organizer, we can help them and improve all this. And our work should be widely praised. If at the end of the day they say, thank you, it's much better than bye-bye. Practical limitation. What I'm going to deal with here is an idea. Of course, when in everyday practice, it will be necessary to adapt this principle to bring them in line with reality. But when you can do more, you can do less. So this implies a realistic implementation, but keep the objective in mind, and we will improve the whole thing. The OCs, I want to, maybe some of you are organizer or have been organizer, as I have been. Well, you have to know that the organizing an endurance competition is far from an easy task. You have to start the whole process months in advance. You have to create a challenging and safe course complying with the rules. You need to find a suitable location for the venue. You secure the support and assistance of the local authorities. You need to build and manage consistent and efficient teams. You have to handle everything: price, bid, accommodation, food, stable, rescue team, etc. It's a lot of work. You need to obtain the administration, the authorizations, in the context of ever increasing constraints, and you need to raise funds. So for these reasons, the OC deserve a lot of respect, and we are here to respect them, help them. So we must always keep in mind that without their energy and dedication, there are no competition and even no discipline. This is very important. The illustrations I'm using here, I want to say something about that. Through our lives, we learn from our mistakes, that's for sure. And so the illustrations I use in these courses are from my personal collection. They highlight both solutions to adopt and mistakes to avoid. And in no case, they are meant to mock, judge, or condemn anyone. It's a way of understanding, learning together, so that we can do better collectively. That's the only aim. I didn't blur the faces, I didn't blur the name, because my aim is to learn together. The course designer. I will not use the name course designer because I think it is included in the technical delegates, but mainly it's a category that does not exist anymore, FEI, because laying down a track takes time and you need to be familiar with the area. If you come from another part of the world, you won't be able to do the work. So the only way to be efficient is to live nearby. This is why the actual course designer I have in mind is necessarily a member of the organizing committee and definitely a local. And this does not apply to the technical delegate because technical delegate brings a fresh perspective as an outsider. Well, what is his role? The duties starts before those of the other officials. So it's a rather solitary job. But we have overall control and responsibility for the arrangement of the event. This is something that covers technical and administrative arrangement. In fact, almost everything. So we have a huge responsibility and we have a huge work. And for the moment, we need more technical delegates because people are not looking for that. As soon as we're assigned, we must communicate with the key officials as soon as in charge. This is something which is important. So, well, I've got a question for you. When do you think that the TD should arrive on the site? Some idea? Some comment?
We have a raised hand by Anne.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't hear. I can't hear anyone answering.
Yes, I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. So he or she has to come before, much before the pre-ride inspection.
Yes, but when? 1 week before, 1 month before, 2 minutes before?
Oh, it will depend on the event. Are we
Yes,
talking
for
about
sure.
a CI or a championship? I would say not a championship. If he knows or she knows already the event, I would say at least 1 day before the day of the pre-ride.
Okay. So, well, let's sum up all this. So, arriving 1 hour before the pre-ride is useless. If you have to do something, if you don't even know the track, you don't know the venue, you just go to the catering and have a coffee, and you are useless most of it. 1 day before, as you said, in the pre-ride is not really enough if you need to be efficient, but if it's a recurrent ride, and every year it's the same, more or less, maybe it's enough. Few days before would be nicer, and visit the site by anticipation is something which is beautiful, but this is a dream, because it means that you have to devote a lot of time. It implies that the OC has sufficient funds, and it's rarely the case, except in a few countries. So we have a solution. Communicate with the organizing committee as early as you can. Request as many documents as possible to analyze them at home. And then you save time and money for the organizer and for yourself. And this is what we are going to follow in this course. See what we can analyze when we're at home, and then go to the site and be already someone who doesn't land from another planet. So the motto of the technical delegate could be help. We are here to help the organizer. Guide. If necessary, we can guide the organizer. And then we can improve what he's doing or what is she doing. But we have to control. course, we are here to have it done in the right way and anticipate something which is very important. Be ahead, as we say in the building field. If you are not ahead, you're already late. So these are 4 things that we have to keep in mind: help, guide, control, anticipate. So, but this entails that we have empathy. Don't shout, don't be rude. Empathy, go in the same way as them, explain, and have them change their direction if it's necessary. Communication skills, because sometimes it's not really easy when you have an old guy organizing, been organizing for 30 years, and he would say, "Well, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for 30 years. You're not going to teach me." So that's sometimes a bit difficult, but if you have a good ability to negotiate, you will do it. But anyway, you should have the strength to impose your authority, because sometimes it's a necessity. So all this is the psychological tools of the technical delegate. But when we impose something, as I had to do recently, we've got to explain the why, the how, because that's the best way to be understood. Otherwise, giving an order is not a way to behave for technical delegate. At the end of the day, the official with the technical delegate is working or part of 2 teams. Those 2 teams are the organizing committee, because you're working with the organizing committee, and our fellow officials. And sometimes it's not an easy way to deal. In other words, and to sum it up, with the TD, the organizing committee creates the tool made available to officials for a successful event and a happy team. And then it goes on. When the ride is over and we are happy, that's fantastic. This means that we have to work as a team with a number of people. A team is, of course, we know a number of people who do something together. It refers to people working together as a group. But sometimes we find organizers who are not working as teams. If we have a clear and efficient division of work, discipline of everyone, positive communication, subordination to the individual interest to discipline interest, and the team spirit, then you have the key to do it. Well, we have also a problem, not a problem, but sometimes it's difficult. In Europe, we share a common cultural corpus. Nonetheless, there are some differences between countries. So sometimes we might not be understood, and sometimes we might be irritated. If you are German and you're going to work in Italy, the way of behaving and doing things is totally different. If you are French and you're working in Germany, well, the way they're doing things just not cope exactly with the way you are doing. So we have to cope with all this. So, but on the other hand, the TD has a leading position. So the way to resolve this dichotomy is to be on the wavelength of the people. So self-control, equanimity, attitude and way of behaving, displaying confidence, an obvious capacity to handle the game, and then that naturally will fulfill its leading position. And right. People, we overcome the cultural differences. So we have to create a bond of trust with the organizer, and then we can do a lot of things. So the foundations of endurance organization. I'm going a bit fast because there are a lot of things, and these are all general principles. So, I would like to 4 keys of action. when you start the job? What do you have in mind? That's a question for you. Well, Anna. Good. I'm going on. Well, so allez.
Okay.
Okay, no, vas-y, allez. Anne.
Okay, so the track.
Yeah.
You are talking about the area, I guess. So the track.
Well, I'm talking about the what's in your mind. What's your concern, generally speaking? Like, for instance, welfare. Security. The most important thing, of course. Then
safety.
Safety. Yes, safety. And
Security.
What safety, security, appropriate design, I would say, and complies with the rules. So I think that these four directions are the one we should keep in mind all the time. Welfare, we are constantly referring to welfare. We have to do it. So welfare, it's paramount. It affects all aspects of the event, and we will see all these. Transportation, unloading, loading areas, tables, ground, dimension, layout, ventilation, paddock, distances with the vetting area, isolation boxes, clinic proximity, quarantine, if any, it depends on the type of competition. I'm talking of small competition with 20 horses and bigger one with 200. That's the same. We still have to keep in mind all this. Safety, it's a shared obligation for horses and people. So it affects all aspects of the event, flows and venue layout design. We'll see that fire and evacuation provision, absence of obstacle, hazardous elements, control of accesses, night watch, course safe design, course safe marking, night lighting, etc. Appropriate design, this applies to the course. Technical design, natural speed control, this is very important. Quality of the marking, safety on the track. It applies to the venue. Gate layout, zoning, fluidity of movements, equipment, fencing, general coherence. All this we will see. Compliance with the rules, that's something important. Well, it depends CNCIs, but the objective is always to comply fully with the rules. But sometimes it's impossible. So it's a matter of adapting them intelligently as best as possible without betraying the spirit. For instance, recently in a championship in Pattaya, we had the impossibility to have a water point. So we had to have 2 crew points at 3 kilometers away, one from the other. Should be 5, but it was absolutely physically impossible. So then I took the decision to authorize that. So this is something we have to keep in mind. We have the possibility to adapt without betraying the rules when it is totally unavoidable. Overall, well, in a broader context than the discipline, it's something which is run primarily by volunteers. And there is a social interaction between different people who will never cross in the real life. So that's important. International competition, it's such a pleasure to mix people from diverse geographic and cultural backgrounds. So it's a place for brotherhood, friendship. And this applies to everyone involved, officials, competitors, crews, etc. So we must never forget that by excelling in our work, we are building the resilience of our sport for the future. And we are, as TD, the key in this aspect. Social license, that's something that is overcome, but unfortunately, we have to cope with that. Social license, how do you see that? No one on the line? Well, okay, no microphones.
It's a tolerance of public
Mhm.
about our sport.
Yes.
And yes,
Absolutely, absolutely right. And this is something we have to take care about. It concerns us all regarding our position or role. FIFA's public acceptance, perceived image. And, well, generally speaking, the public tends to be divided in the committed, us, and among others, 5-10% of society. The opposed represent 15%, and the persuadable are about 60-70%. And these are the most important parts. So faced with organized groups, we cannot remain passive because they are active. So the majority have knowledge, the persuadable, I mean, have knowledge of horse. They form their opinion through comments on social media. They form an opinion based on the incidents, accidents they read about. So they tend to mix up all sports activity involving horses. For instance, flat race industry with a high rate of accident with endurance riding because they don't know anything, but they have an opinion. And also the current trend among the public is increasingly toward animal welfare. This is particularly true among younger people. And the persuadable are those who make us win or lose social license. Because if, sorry?
Monsieur Leroy?
Sorry?
I think they forgot their microphone. Sorry, continue.
Yes. Okay. So, so the persuadable are those who make us win or lose. If we lose the social license, then the support will disappear, and then we will really be in trouble. So it's a question of image. So what can we do? We let people know and keep repeating and showing that we do take care of horses, but that's not enough. Insist on the fact that they are constantly on veterinary watch. Look for 3 stars. We have 11 inspections up to 15. 2 hours, 40 minutes of rest time altogether. So, oh, yes, because the first time when you say they do 160 horses, first reaction is they're going to die. No, they're not going to die. Mention and repeat that horses are trained and led with respect, even if we have some people who do not do it. So in case of abuse, we must be the first one to investigate, report, providing supporting evidence, and mostly, in case of incident, make sure to deliver a factual and transparent statement, which will kill all negative, uninformed comments. Never try to hide the problem. Many years ago, in a major ride in France, one horse died, and that was 25 years ago. The organizer tried to hide the fact. I was foreign judge in Brazil 15 days after, and the official, they came to me and said, well, 2 horses dead. That's incredible. What happened? And then 3 weeks after, I was in Malaysia. And they did the same and said, well, 3 horses? It's incredible. Yes, it is incredible, because if you deliver transparent and factual statement, people will just adhere to it. They will not try to create things, because the more gaps you have, the more stupid stories you can have. Never escape discussion. If we cannot answer, we just refer to the federation, FEI or National Federation, saying, well, look, they will explain you. So we have to show that we know what we're doing, we provide positive information, and we break down all arguments that are often based on simplistic reasoning. So that's very important. Okay, so now start. We are the connecting link somewhere. Our role begins before the game even starts. In this sense, we have a critical position that gives us the possibility to act. This is why we should be in contact with the organizing committee, come in advance if it's possible, because this is when we can do something. We can serve as a connecting link between the OC and the officials afterwards by playing a prominent role during the preparations. So we must take advantage of this situation to build a consensus between stakeholders. And we'll see how we do contact details. So upon appointment, and the problem is that in small right, you just happen to know that you're appointed sometimes a few hours before. It's not enough. Absolutely not enough. But well, we've got to communicate with the key officials as much as early as we can. President of Grand Jury, okay. The most important one, Chief Steward, because he has to work with you before the right. President of the Veterinary Commission, the foreign or veterinary delegate, very important to communicate with him or her. President of the Treating Commission, 24-hour service manager, and foreign judge, if any. So just create a WhatsApp group with these officials when it is possible. Then you can communicate, you can inform, and it's very important also communicate with the course designer of the organizing committee. Documents. We have to ask for the documents from home. You just ask them, you say, okay, give me the map of the course with each loop, location of the crew points, water points, location of the control points, security points. Request a file recorded by GPS, KML, KMZ, GPX, any kind, KML and KMZ. This is Google. Huh? It's easier to analyze than scan papers. So that's request it. Well, sometimes they don't have it. So we'll see how to deal with this. The map of the venue also, with the start and finish of each loop. The layout of the field of play, recovering, betting, hold areas, the layout of the restricted area, stables, treating boxes, isolation, testing boxes. Then you have in hand something which is you can work on. So check also or participate in the schedule. How many competitions, respective total distances, number of loops for each, length of each loop, times of start, minimum speed, total hold times. This will give you the duration of the event. You will be able to assess this with the delayed duration, see how to do. Also the total number of coupons, but you should have it on the map, but sometimes it's not. This is why good to ask. And total water points. We'll see how to deal with water points later on. And the estimation of potential overlap of arrivals for the first and maybe second phases, because this is the real curse of endurance. The program, so you check the number of judges, number of stewards, number of veterinary commission. Well, number of stewards, knowing that what the rule says, at least for the FEI, is not enough to run it correctly. So insist always on maximum of stewards, local ones. Number of treating commission members, then the size of the veterinary commission tells you the maximum number of competitors expected by the organizing committee. And this could be reversed also. The number of inspection lanes the OC intends to create. On small competition, well, the veterinary delegate and the president of the vet commission will serve in the lines. In bigger events, they will not serve in the lines because they will not be able to do to fulfill their job due to the number of horses. So this gives you an estimate of the sizing of various equipments and areas. This we will see on the third course. You may also suggest the name of officials to the organizing committee in order to help build a strong team. But of course, this is when you are assigned in advance or when you know the people and you can talk with them. But as I told you, this is an ideal situation. We have to adapt with the reality of the ground. Well, potential interferences between competition. You probably have lived some examples where you had a huge mess at the first gate. Can you tell us a few? You certainly have examples of problems you have encountered during the first gate on a competition because everyone was coming at the same time. No? No. Hello?
This is a question for you guys. Come on, don't be
Yeah,
shy.
yeah, I'm alone on the line.
Don't be shy, don't be shy.
Patricia, yes, tell me.
Yeah. Hello. You can divide the start of the different competition. To start the junior, to 3-star, more time between the different start.
Yes. That's the way. Dimitri, you wanted to say something? No? Okay, so well, let's see.
Sorry.
Tell me. Yes?
There's also Anne Waquieras. She wrote check of the schedule. I would add day and time of the opening of the stables.
Yes, exactly. So at the first phase.
I can suggest also to divide the veterinarians. Some of them to stay at the line, and the other veterinarians can take the pulse when you have a big amount of riders arrive at the first vet gate.
Yes, for sure. But the first vet gate is always the most difficult to handle, and it is the first vet gate. So you are not sure that everything is going to run well, and this is the worst you have to handle. So once the first vet gate is running well, you feel safe. But that's a wrong idea sometimes. But anyway, we've got compact rooms. So not enough vets, of course, because you don't have one vet for one horse. Increased waiting times. When you have several competitions held at the same time, overlapping of arrivals must be avoided. And you see it many times. Knowing the mass start times planned, the length of the loop, the average speed, because it's not the first time, for instance, that the competition is run, we can estimate the probability of simultaneous arrivals. So we can draw the conclusion, and if it is necessary, we can ask the organizing committee to reschedule to avoid congestion at the first vet gate. Well, one example, for instance, on the one hand, smaller the distance of the competition, the faster the horses. When they start for 160 kilometers, it's totally different than when they start for 100 or 40. Many times we see a delay between two starts of 15 minutes. Well, if they follow the same route, it doesn't solve the overlapping issue at the first vet gate. This is something that we see many times. With a greater delay, the length of the respective loops could erase the gap. On the other hand, there are necessarily fewer vets than horses. Of course, waiting times in the vetting area penalize horses by shortening their rest times. And the waiting time must be as short as possible. So overlapping between different rides should be avoided as much as we can. Look, here a scenario. This is taken from a real ride. So you see here CI, 80 stars and 3 stars, 95 and 2 stars. We have 7 inspection lanes, which fits to the rules. And the known average speed for each competition is 17 kilometers an hour, because we know that the average they always do. So, do you think that these work at Delegate 1? You know, the CI 2 stars, it starts at 6, 1 hour after the 3 stars. They have 38 kilometers for the first loop and the 3 stars, and 21 for the second time, the second 2 stars. So does it work? Quick calculation.
Okay.
Yes.
First loop, they will all come together.
Yes. Okay. So you tell us why?
Because 126 minus 60 is 66, and 66 and 70 are very close.
Yes. Look, you're right. Look at this. We analyze it. The 3 stars starts at 5 a.m. Okay. 38 kilometers. 80 starters, quite a lot, for 7 lanes. Then you had 2 star 6. That means 1 hour later, but the kilometers 21, they are 95. Okay. Average speed is known to be 17 kilometers an hour. So let's calculate. And for the 2 stars, and the end time of the loop is exactly the same. So we have 90 plus 85 arriving more or less all together as a group. So this is absolutely impossible. So we have to do something and to tell the organizing committee, change the order of the loops, do something, and we cannot accept that this will be a huge mess that we could avoid. So it's very important to analyze the schedule, because quite often you have this figure more or less. This one is fantastic, but you have more or less the same figure. So daylight and competition, that's important also. How would you manage natural light for an event? Well, do you think that starting at 3 o'clock in the morning, as we used to do in France for the 3 star, and finishing at 5 is a good solution, or starting at 10 as and ending at midnight? How would you position the ride according to the daylight? With the notion of something, which is the risk assessment. And
maybe to organize the start at the sunrise.
Yes. Go on.
And what? I don't know.
Okay. Well, I would make sure that they arrive during daylight. They can start with lights, with a car in front for a few meters, or for a few, but that the arrival at the end of the day should be with that light.
Okay, so we have the start during daylight at sunrise on one side, and we have the finishing before night. Is that true?
Yes.
So we've got to choose somewhere, and we've got to tell the organizer, and we've got to calculate and tell the organizer, analyze the situation. Okay, we're going to do this.
It also depends on weather conditions, no?
Weather condition, etc. And also, you're living in Bulgaria, you may be going to Sardinia, so you have a different daylight length. So look, we're going to do it. Up. Okay, risk assessment. Well, first, it's riskier to compete at night than during the day. It's a question of safety, marking, rescue teams, etc. The probability of accidents is proportional to the number of grouped horses. At the start, we have 100% of horses. The high risk somewhere. A few late horses at the end of the day, the low risk. That's something to take in consideration. But we have the daylight estimation. It's related to the geographical location, the time of the year, and also, as you said, the weather. So, knowing the duration of the event, the duration of natural lighting, the nature of the risk, we can intervene to potentially improve the planned schedule. For instance, what we just saw is something that doesn't work. So we have to integrate something, which is, we have to have it clear. And sometimes I will go to geography and things like that, because civil twilight, you know what it is, of course, but did you include it? We have three types of twilight. We have the civil twilight, which is when the sun, before sunrise, after sunset, and until 6 degrees below the horizon. Then you got the nautical twilight, astronomical twilight. We are not interested by those. We are interested by the civil twilight, because this is the period to carry out outdoor activities. It's possible. So we have to include it in the daylight. Look, for instance, artificial light may not be required, which can be very important for organizers. Look, this is a mass start 10 minutes after the beginning of civil twilight. We have enough light. Some riders have lights, headlights, others have not. So we can use it. Application. Comparison between two locations, Helsinki and Mumbai, could have been south of Europe and north of Europe, but well, this is just to show how it works. Civil twilight in Mumbai on the 29th of May. We have the civil twilight is between 5:30 a.m. to 7:32 p.m. In Helsinki, 3:26 down to 11:06. So it means that the length of visible light is almost 14 hours in Mumbai, while it is more than 19 hours. In the meantime, the visible light difference is almost 6 hours. At 12 kilometers, a horse could travel 70 kilometers. So that makes a true difference. And this has to be included in the position of the ride during the day. Just a question of vocabulary. Daylight is between sunrise and sunset. Visible light is between dawn and dusk. That's the official wording. So, example, Arborea, 29th of September. You've got the daylight duration minus the visible light duration, minus the daylight. Well, we have almost 1 hour. We can gain 1 hour. So how are we going to deal with this? Sunrise is at 7:15. So if we start at 7:15, must start, as you said. That seems to be a good time. Sunset is at 19:17. At 12 kilometers an hour, the last one is supposed to cross the arrival line, finish line, 2 minutes before sunset. So it means that the warming up and the last horse inspection could take place during the civil twilight. That's fantastic. You have no ride during night, you just equilibrate. Sometimes the organizing committee will say, yes, but I want to finish before because I have to deal with the press. they will have printed tomorrow the article concerning my ride, and I need this, etc., etc. Well, this is something important, but you got to consider this before everything else, because that's the best way to have safety. Weather survey. So, well, we probably had a lot of severe weather consequences in your already TD or official life. Thunderstorms, not hurricanes because we don't have many in Europe, but hailstorms, wind, etc. No? Someone has a story to tell us? Something which was a terrible dilemma. Do we stop the ride or do we go on?
Yes, I have a situation with a competition in Turkey. There was rain the day before the start of the competition, the day of the pre-ride inspection. And unfortunately, the organizers organized a national competition the day before the pre-ride inspection. So the track was the same. And the day of the start of the competition, it was a terrible rain with a terrible wind. And the government announced orange code for the wind and for the storm. So we canceled the competition before the start, but this was in the morning of the start. The roofs of the boxes, the stables were blown out. The stables were full with the water. The horses were all wet. So it was for the welfare of the horses and the riders, because it was slippery, we canceled the competition.
Well, that's a fantastic example. A very bad souvenir for you, but a very good example. So let's go. Endurance is, of course, an outdoor sport, and there are no other equestrian sport which is outside so much. So companies' safety and horse welfare is a major concern, as usual. The very first approach must be to explore the weather situation at the time it is held. It looks, we have if you are sent to a place you don't know, if I'm sent, for instance, somewhere in Slovakia, I don't know the weather, so I will have to go to an app, have an idea of what we could expect. So, of course, it's a guessing game because the weather conditions often repeat very little. So, well, look, 10 years of September in south of Sardinia. We can see that we have, for instance, in 2020, 22 degrees was the highest temperature of the day. But the next year, it was the lowest temperature of the day was above that one. So it's difficult to imagine what's going on. But we can see that the average gives us more or less an idea. The coldest years were 2014, 2018, and 23, but the hottest in red. So we can have a general idea. Maximum wind, for instance, the wind is 27.9 on average, but in 2020 it was 50 kilometers an hour. So we'll see how it responds to this. Humidity, well, in 2022 you have 100%. So it means you are in the fog, in fact. And humidity was 69 at 14. So it's very difficult, but it gives you a general idea. What I have underlined here are exceptions. But if you look at the line underneath, it gives you more or less general idea. Another example, for instance, we're discussing in this slide when to start, when to finish. Look, the red line is the temperature, and no, is the humidity, sorry, and the other one, the blue thing, is the temperature. So you have a point when temperature rises but humidity goes down. So the discussion was, shall we start early at 4 o'clock, for instance, in the morning? So there was no reason why, because humidity was high and the temperature was already 24, 25. So this decision was taken to start at the point where it crosses, and then we will end at the time where it crosses the other way in reverse. So that's interesting to have something in your hands to discuss with the persons. Now, severe weather conditions. Keyword: vigilance and anticipation. And anticipation is a real dream because, of course, the most unstable meteorological event comes from instability. So it's very difficult to anticipate, but we have some tools. We know that we are extremely dependent on meteorological conditions. So it's important to be prepared for the unexpected. The OC is fully responsible, but since we have full decision-making power, we have a great deal of responsibility. So we need to have a basic understanding of meteorological phenomena in order at least to manage difficult situations, help people manage it, and take the most appropriate decisions. So we're going to have a rapid survey, and you will see having clues, because sometimes it's not very well clear in our heads. So the most violent meteorological phenomena are the least predictable. So that's difficult for everyone, but we have to face as adequately as possible storms, hail, thunder, lightning, rain, downpour, ice, snow, visibility, winds, floods, etc. We have to be able to do something to react correctly. Well, we have the most unstable condition lead to event postponings or definitive cancellations. And then we have our role to play. Winds. Well, it's the basis of meteorological phenomena. We've got the large-scale winds between the pole and the equator and the Coriolis effect. For us, scientists have defined what they call cells, which are defined zones. We are in Europe in this one, mid-latitude cells, which is called with the prevailing westerlies, that means winds coming from the west and delivering water sometimes. We can use some apps before we come. Look, here, for instance, we are in Ireland between Cork and Dublin. Speed of the wind is 42 kilometers an hour, a bit of rain. This is something which has an impact on the canvas built site. Look at this, for instance. We are south of Vienna. The wind is said to be, well, the forecast is going to be 50, 60 kilometers an hour with wind gusts, which are extremely high, 100, 105 kilometers an hour. That's not nothing. So this has direct impact on wind resistance of canvas structures. We've got light chip canvas structures, the one we see in the recovery. We've got a professional folding tent, the one used generally for officials, temporary boxes, and party and event markets when you have a big event, and that's done by professionals. So we are not really, well, we're going to do it. So do you have an idea of the resistance of these three categories against the wind? What is the range of stability and when does it flies away? So, well, we have a coffee time, 10 minutes break, but I think we will do it in 5 minutes break. You just try to give me an answer for each of these three categories. So I'm coming back at 1906. Is it okay for you? I leave this image.
Okay.
Yes? No.
They just said okay.
Okay.
See
So
you.
that's 5 minutes. See you in 1906. Wait.
François, we cannot hear you, François.
Rétablir le son. Sorry, I did switch off the. Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, so sorry, mistake. So 20-25 kilometers wind, that's the general canvas structure. You can see the recovery areas. Professional folding tents, temporary boxes, it's 80-90 kilometers wind, but it has to be ballasted and firmly anchored to the ground. And party and event marquees, it's 100-110 winds, erected by professional, firmly anchored to the ground. Beyond that, nothing canvas can really resist. So come back to what we had in Ireland, 42 kilometers an hour. So it means that all the light ship canvas structures will fly away if they are not really anchored, but they could be destroyed anyway. What we had in south of Vienna, 50-60 kilometers. So it's already something which is very strong. You have no light ship, no recovery that can stand this. And for the gust of winds, we saw that party event marquees are already in danger. So that's something we have to take into account. Very important. Look, the anchoring ballasting is absolutely necessary, and it should be checked even in still weather, because you might have something which goes, a dust devil, for instance, we'll see what it is, and then it flies away. It's a preventive action, even when you have still weather, calm weather. So you can have it anchored, ballasted, anything, but it has to be done. And this is something we always forget. And I don't count how many flying tents I've seen in my life. Like this one, for instance. Well, it's too late, when it is lifted. If you are on the way, you will receive it. This, for instance, fortunately, we have no horses. Imagine, this is the recovery area. Imagine what happens when you have the horses there on the way. Other thing, this one is a bigger one, but it flew away. And to tell you how it worked, they tried to put it back. You see the people on the left, and then the wind came again, and it passed over them and went out. But this has fallen in the middle. It was a metal, and one person was injured and went to the hospital. So it's very serious. Look at this. It's a second category. Imagine that you are in the middle of that mess. You cannot do anything. You're just lucky if you are still alive or not injured. Look, something different. Forecast announces 100-110 gusts of wind to come in a few hours. What could we do with this? I'm answering for you. Look, boxes are never anchored to the ground. We think that it's enough to weight a lot. But how does it work? You've got a pressure on the right, you've got a depression and a lifting force. This is known everywhere. 25 years or 30 years ago, in the south of France, Sainte-Marie-de-la-Mer, to save the boxes, they did what I'm explaining to you now. So if the box starts lifting, then the wind rushes into it, blows it away, and there is no possibility to stop it, and you kill anything. So the only way to do is to remove the roof, and then you have no lifting force, and you will resist better. Generally, the owner of the boxes know the way to save this, but it's good to have it in mind. and be prepared, because when you have 100, 110 gusts of wind, you really may be in trouble. Look at the fence. The fence also. You've got to do something. But look at this. This is a nice structure. It can fly away, doesn't it? This is the third category. Look what it does when you have a real strong wind. If you are in there, you're killed. There's no other possibility. Look at this mess. Look at the size of the door and this. It flaps against the wind. If you are on the way, that's a disaster. So we really have, that's the responsibility of the professional, the responsibility of the organizing committee, our responsibility as TDs. For the fences, well, the wind pushes, gradually gives way. So the only way to stop that is to counter racing against the wind. An example, look at this. All the city barriers are falling down. This balloon is balancing. Fortunately, you don't have any horse in this vetting area. Otherwise, you have a mess. Really dangerous. A horse who is panicking, many horses waiting, you can have a real mess and injuries, etc. So this is very important. Solid face. This is made of metal. You've got noise, you've got a falling down, no resistance, no wind resistance. So this is our responsibility. If they were interlocked, they would resist better. But we have to brace them against the wind. Look at this. It is not in our country, in Europe, but it's something which shows what a disaster can become. Look at this. Was it predictable? Was it anticipated? Had all the risks been assessed? This is in another country, but when you are the TD, you might feel a bit worried about the fact that you could have stopped it maybe before it happens. Thunderstorms, regardless of any storm, we've got 3 stages: developing stage, mature stage, and dissipation stage. The 3 stages take around 30 minutes. The last stage is the one affecting competitions. A thunderstorm has an average diameter of 20-24 kilometers. So that's generally the temperature drops, and this can have a clear impact on the veterinary conduct of the event. But we don't know where the thunderstorm will be, but we know that they might come. Look at this. Just before it discharging, we had a 12 degrees sudden drop, and people were still putting ice. They were freezing themselves, but they were putting ice on their horses. And we had no possibility, no commentator, no loudspeaker system. So we couldn't tell them to stop. And the metabolic rate increased incredibly because people were not adapting to the reality of the weather. Here, well, some of you will recognize where it is. First vet gate, a huge storm,
Florac.
people are protecting.
Florac.
Yes, Florac. And that was a few years ago. And Christian was president, and he took the right decision, stop it, because it was impossible to go on. Safety measures, but the weather-anchored structures, canvas structures. Well, after the storm, the weather returns to normal, generally becomes still. So in some cases, we can decide to delay an initial start to allow storm pass. But then, I'm going a bit faster, the OC with the TD must make sure, 1, that the track is safe. 2, that track crew points are accessible. And 3, maybe one of the most important ones, that the emergency response resources are still available. So this is our responsibility. Look, you have some apps telling you where the lighting tracks are going. Look, here the red dot is our venue. So you can see the strikes, 10:50, 11:10, 11:20. You can follow it. You see that it's going away. So that's all these tools, modern tools. We have to use them as much as we can. Look, you inspect the track and you find this after the storm. There is plenty of room to pass on the left. What will you decide? There is space on the left, but is it safe? Well, look at this. Up, 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 up. And you can hardly believe what you see. Will you take the risk? Look. These fell down after a few hours, 2 hours. But was it thanks to the decision taken by the OC or a big deal of good luck? Hailstorm. Well, hail is terrible. It is in continental region, mid-latitude. It's generally linked to a storm within 4 kilometers or something. Well, hailstones are usually between 5 and 15 centimeters. Look at this one. 15 30-meter diameter hailstone weight more than 500 grams. And when you get it on your head, it hurts. 1 centimeter hailstone hits the ground at 33 kilometers an hour, and one like this one, 8 centimeters, hits it at 170 kilometers an hour. The material damage and injuries can be terrible. And hailstorms normally last for a few minutes to 15 minutes in duration. After, it's okay. But when I tell you that it very can give a lot of injuries, well, you're not really convinced? Okay, look at this. This was taken during a competition. Look. This is the blood. When you hit very strongly the skin, the blood is seeping through the skin. This is what happened during that competition to this horse. But you could also have blisters of that kind. You have also this, the eyes. Poor horse. And a foal can be killed. So it's important for us to know that we have a decision to take when hailstorms are possible. Fog. Well, we know generally the places where you have fog, southwest of France, for instance, absolutely always foggy. Generally, we define it as a visibility of less than 1 kilometer. When visibility falls to less than 200, it's impossible to drive a car or a truck safely. And foggy areas and periods are generally known and predictable, so it's okay. But with valleys, forested areas, marshy areas, and coastal areas, so the fog usually disappears between 1 and 3 hours after sunrise. So we could postpone the start when you have a lot of fog. It's more a cause of postponement to the initial start than of cancellation. But in case of postponement, make sure that the OC will provide sufficient artificial lighting to finish for the finish line, the recovery, and at least the vetting area as a minimum. Otherwise, you will get this. Look, using smartphones to the metabolic inspection. Shouldn't be. This is a mistake of the TD and the OC. And unfortunately, I was the TD at that time. So let's go somewhere else. Here, you've got 20 meters, 6 a.m. for doing any gait assessment in riding. So now a question that we all officials have to ask ourselves. When a fog is partially cleared and visibility is approximately 300 meters, well, we have to ask us, is it advisable, reasonable, possible, safe to flag off the competition? In other words, how long can we reasonably wait? Because if it's more than 3 hours, really it becomes a problem. Fortunately, the fog disappears. But we have to decide as officials, and not only for the horses, because we never forget that the crews use cars to reach crew points. And if you forget that, look, this is the result you can have. We must also be concerned about their safety. So when it's okay for horses, might not be so for cars. Floods. Heavy rainfall can lead to flooding. The evolution of the weather decision is not always easy. Physical consequences, state of the ground access are not always known or obvious. And it is essential to know the status of the emergency resources available at the time of the competition, but they may be mobilized elsewhere. So generally speaking, floods very often mean cancellation. Impossibility of access to the venue, impracticability of the venue or the track, maybe both. Look, this was a few years ago, Fontainebleau. All the red roads are flooded and closed. So it was almost impossible to reach the venue, but the tracks and the venue were absolutely out of water. But the rescue services were unavailable, so we had to cancel the ride in advance. Look at this. Do you think that the rescue teams will be ready to help you with your sport when you have this disaster around? Okay. Another thing, cold drop. 4 months of worth of rain in one night. That was a long time ago in Spain. Dust devil. That is something which happens. Europe is not typically affected by tornadoes, but we have whirlwind called dust devil. Suddenly, the weather is still around, and it's very violent. Chairs, table can fly away, and then again, if you have non-anchored canvas structures, it can be badly damaged. They are unpredictable, so basic precaution must be taken in advance to minimize their impact. Look at this, bad luck. Oops, just the roll past there. The rest is okay. Only them. Still weather, no clouds, no wind. Are you sure they did anchor their canvas structures? If we have sudden gust of wind, we might have something which is similar to what you saw before. Early cancellation, that's a real problem. There are situations when an event has to be cancelled in advance. In many European countries, we have the red warning, etc. And the authorities canceled the ride before we had to do it. So we have no choice but to follow the cancellation ordered by the authorities. But the TD can only take note of this and refer to the decision of the NF. But we must ensure that the organizer takes all necessary measures to inform the officials and participants, of course. That's our job. Sometimes weather conditions are uncertain. It's necessary to discuss with the organizer whether to cancel or postpone the event. If there is a disagreement between the OC and the TD, remember that upon obtaining all available information and data, if in your opinion, the only reasonable behavior is to cancel the event to come, you cancel it. Whatever the attitude of the organizing committee. May be difficult, and then you have to get your skill, your ability to negotiate, etc. Well, now let's go to preliminary horse welfare. I think the 1930 we will probably stop just after this and take it for the next the next session. Endurance is a competition, of course, against the clock, not against the horse. Of course, the rider are the person responsible. They have to manage their ride in a responsible way, but they need to do it on a challenging and safe course prepared by the OC's course designer under the supervision and help of the technical delegate. This is absolutely basic. We are dependent, as we said, to the nature of the landscape and environment. A flat country encourages flat and fast tracks. A mountainous one may be tiring, but naturally limits speed. We have to look at this. Most significant efforts may be made at the beginning of the competition. The weather can vary considerably during the day. Topography affects our perception of danger and effort. And then we'll finish on this, on something. The trail is perceived differently depending on whether it is a valley or a mountain along a ravine. Look at this. The beam test illustrates the psychological phenomenon of play. If it's on the ground, you walk over it without worry. If it's 1 meter off the ground, start thinking about where you're putting your feet. If it's 5 meters above the ground, few people dare to venture there. So we have, yet the beam is always the same, and no more difficult to walk across, no matter how high it is. So our brains are playing tricks on us. Let's take advantage of it to limit naturally the speed on the track. And then I will, 28, I will stop here, and the finish of this session will be the beginning of the next one, because I don't want to last too much. So I'm going to go back to my face if I am able to find it again somewhere. I was okay. So I think that we have reached the limit we decided to have. So I propose you something. You will ask questions if you have for the beginning of the next the next session. And in the meantime, we'll go a bit more. We'll progress a bit more. So this will be for the next session. Well, anyway, no, just ask question next time, because otherwise it would be impossible. It is not linked to the rest. So I hope you enjoyed this first session. I was a bit fast because all this stuff is something a bit repeating, but I thought it was necessary. Starting next session, we will really work on the tracks and all this and go deep in the work of the TD, concretely on the ground and at home. So, Bella, I think I just, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, well, I'm just okay. So I think that we close this session.
Yeah.
And well, if you have questions for next time when we start, we will talk about that. Okay? Are you okay, all of you? So see you next Tuesday at 6 p.m. exactly.
You should have all just thank you very much, François. You should have all received already like a warning for the event if you're already on the platform. If you're having any issues joining the platform, please let me know. I will check and I will be happy to help. About the PowerPoint. I'm not sure this is up to François. Some people are asking if it would be possible to have the PowerPoint. As far as I know, you will have a document at the end of the course.
Yes. I will do, because I will sum up what because this PowerPoint being animated, you have on one slide several things and it becomes something unreadable. So I will do it on a PDF, summing up all this in PDF. But this will be at the end of the series of these courses, and it will be available on your platform. I imagine it's possible, and you will be able to download it, because that will, I consider that there could be some tools, but not what we've seen up to now, because that's what Generalities, but for the rest, could be tools for the organizer and yourself, and save time and be better understood maybe, and showing what you have in mind. Because many things are simple to do, don't cost money, but change a lot of things. Is it okay?
That's perfect. Thank you. Jean-Pierre, there's just one question. I'm guessing it's related to the work, to the course. Jean-Pierre?
Hello, Jean-Pierre. We left.
Or not. Perfect. Thank you very much, François.
Okay. And
see you all next week.
Next week, 6 p.m. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.